Well, we've got Stephen Capone on the line, a distant relative of Al, and we're going to talk about his book, A Penny for Your Thoughts. Good afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm well, thank you. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. I mean, are you a distant relative of Al? Because I just made that up, but on the off chance, is that true?
You know what? It's a tough question to answer. If I say no, everybody is sure. So I don't think so.
Now, A Penny for Your Thoughts is your book that you've got out now. How would you describe it?
I would describe it as a suspense thriller. I think when I was putting it together, I think I tried to keep your attention on every page as best I could.
And how do you manage to do that? Because that's quite a hard thing to do, isn't it?
It is, and I think that if you talk to any author, what you're really looking for, it's much like probably a movie. You're looking to put some hooks in there that keep the characters always moving.
Yeah.
In that style, in that genre, you want to keep them going, so everybody's is ready to turn the next page, and they don't really want to put the book down. And hopefully you accomplish that. Hopefully I did,
Yeah. And you mentioned movies. Is it harder in a book to keep the attention? Because a movie's shorter, so if somebody's not enjoying it, then they might think, well, I've only got half an hour left. Whereas a book, it's a much bigger commitment, isn't it?
It is. But I'm going to be honest with you. When I write books, because I've written a number, this is my first one that I've released.
Yeah.
I always look at them, I call them beach books. Something that I'm not going to write this thing that you're going to say, well, it's going to take me a month to read it.
Yeah.
I want to get attention. And if you say I'm sitting in on a Friday night and I'm going to read this book, but I got work Monday morning, I want to keep your attention for the whole weekend. And Sunday night, when you go to bed, you've accomplished something. You've read my book and I've captured your attention for the weekend. And if I can do that, I've done my job.
So how long would you say this book, A Penny for Your Thoughts, takes to read if you were to add all the reading sessions up? Not a whole weekend, but, in hours.
You know what? It's 306 pages long. I think most of the feedback that I've got, people hold on to it and read right through it. And that's, some will say, gee, it was over so fast. I think you could probably read it in 5 hours, how fast you read. And some people are already getting ready to turn the next page because they want to see what happens. So, so you kind of, did you ever read the book Jaws years ago?
I don't think I've ever read the book.
But the movie, right?
Yeah.
Somebody gets eaten by a shark by the third page, and he's got you, and you don't put down. And I try and always use that as, you want to capture them, and then don't let them go.
Yeah.
And, and I try and do that. I do my best to. Hopefully I accomplish it.
You mentioned that people say, oh, that was so quick to read. Is that a positive comment from them, or do you see it as negative? Maybe they wanted more?
I think of it as a positive, because when they say it was quick to read, it meant like I was talking to one of my friends. Certainly your friends usually read your book. Yeah. And I didn't put it down. Once I started, I didn't put it down. And so when it's a quick read, I look at it like that. You just keep going. You don't want to stop. You kind of fell for the characters. You got involved with the characters. You want to see where they're going, and you want to see how it ends. And a quick read as in, I just kept going. Maybe I didn't cut the lawn. Maybe I skipped something because I wanted to stay with your book.
Yeah.
So I think that's positive, right? I think that's good.
And how long did the book actually take you to come up with?
One thing I've been very fortunate with, I took a long hiatus. I've been writing for a while, but I took basically a 20-year break to have another career. And then when I retired from that, I went back to it. So I've never been short for ideas. I'm very fortunate like that. I mean, in total, I've written 18 books. I'm working on 2 more right now.
Wow.
So ideas have never been short for me.
Yeah. You took this 20-year break from writing, as you say. Was it easy to get back in the flow of it?
Yes. Yes, it was, because it was always my plan. It's as anybody that's trying some artistic endeavor, whether they're a musician or a photographer or a painter. I mean, sometimes there's just the reality of, hey, I got to make a buck.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to do your creative endeavors, sometimes just life gets in the way of that. And so I had a large body of work, but I wanted to write some new stuff. But my plan always was do my career, and then when that's done, and that career is done, that had a time frame to it. This was always my plan, and I stepped right back into it, and it's great for me. I mean, I love getting involved with my characters, and I love the stories I'm writing right now. So it wasn't hard for me.
Where did you look to get inspiration for the characters in this book, A Penny for Your Thoughts?
And I'm not saying it's this book, but I remember walking through a bank parking lot one day and finding a shotgun shell in the parking lot.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean there was any crazy that happened, right? But I go, shotgun shell in a bank parking lot. I can do something with this. My imagination to find the characters. You know, you always look at different people that you meet, different people that you see, and we all do it, right? We have all these preconceptions of what people might be.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you can just take those preconceptions and breathe a whole life into that character because it's fiction. I mean, you have your sense. Sometimes you just look at an image, a face. Maybe you see a news story, and you go, there could be something here. And you just start, you know what? You just add it. It's kind of like a painting. You just add a little color here. And then all of a sudden it takes on a life of its own. And characters just kind of walk onto your pages from just parts of your life experiences. And they just, you know, that's when you know your book has finally hit its stride. When all of a sudden the characters start writing the pages themselves. And you're just, they take on their own lives. And that's when you know you've hit it.
Yeah.
I'm the narrator now.
That's a really weird phenomenon that happens to people, and I'm not an author, so I don't understand it, but it seems to happen to quite a lot of authors where they don't feel like they're actually writing the book. They're just the medium physically typing it up. Yes,
that's I definitely agree with that. The first few pages are always the hardest, but then you hit that sweet spot. And I did with this. And, you know, I liked all the characters in this book. And the best part about this book, you know, is I looked at it and I go, boy, does it beg for a sequel? Does it beg for, and I don't know yet. I'm working on 2 other projects right now. So I'm going, well, I don't know. It's going to have to wait. And I want to just let it simmer for a while in my head and see if I'm going to come back to it and write a sequel to it. I liked all the characters in my book. I liked them more when I was finished with it. I go, wow, some of the characters, sometimes characters in a story will surprise you. You started out with how you envision them, and then they kind of morph into their own, like people, they morph into their own being just by the way the story went. It's actually surprising sometimes.
Yeah. Now, the book is called A Penny for Your Thoughts, of course, and I think we should actually talk about the plot. And I've got a description written down here. As a wind-driven snow beats a tinny symphony against the windshield of his car, Jason Colson, co-founder of Microtech, an emerging giant in the software industry, waits on an impending date with doom. With Jason's anxiety running on overdrive, his thoughts turn to his daughter Jennifer and failed marriage to his wife Linda. Now, without giving too much away, take it from there if you can.
Jason doesn't really know what he's walking into. He's become, you know what? I would have to completely give it away, and I don't want to do it. But that's where it starts. It starts right there, and if you went a paragraph further, you would see where that impending date with doom kind of wanders into his crosshairs. And what I wanted to do was just create this character that right from page 1, there's a hook that gets you into the book. And I think I accomplished that. I think I accomplished that. And, you know, I always ask people, did you like it? And did I accomplish that with you? And I think I did. Most of the people are just regular people. You know, he's a successful man, horrible marriage, a daughter that he adores, but he's just a regular guy. And this is what happens. And it just starts to unravel. I don't know if that answers your question. You know, I'm sure it's no different like when you interview other writers or artists or people that you interview. Sometimes you're the creator of something is the worst person to ask about something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes it seems like that. Sometimes I go, boy, what's he going to ask me? What am I going to talk about? These characters, like people in my family, for God's sakes, at this point.
Yeah.
What do I say?
How do you actually come up with that hook? Because that's one of the most important things to get right. And when do you come up with it? I mean, is it after you've thought about what the overall story is going to be, or is it maybe even part of that?
You know what? Sometimes, you know, when I everybody's got their formula for writing. When I sit down to write it, I want 1,500 words today. That's what I want. But some days I might just be working with a pen and paper going, but where am I going to go? And what would this character think and what would this character do? Because sometimes you have to step aside and say, and where's it going to go? And so some days you might just spend, instead of a day of writing, might just be a day of, it's kind of like a game of chess.
Yeah.
What is going to next move? And what is the hook that would be appropriate for that person? Is it, you don't want to get too far out there. I don't write science fiction. Science fiction, I think you have a bigger license sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong, but the hook can't be too far out there. But geez, these days with things that go on in the world, you go, how far out there is really out there anymore? The hooks are just, I always look at the hooks as the writing is black and white and lines, and now the hooks are, I'm going to paint in the color that's going to keep you interested and draw you in.
Yeah.
It's hard, I map them out. I think everybody does. I always say it too like this. When people ask, how do you write a book? I go, well, how do you paint a house? A house is made of rooms. A book is made of pages and chapters. You paint one room at a house, and before you know it, you sit back and you go, gee, I'm done. It's done. And kind of like the book's not a whole lot different sometimes. You let the people walk through the pages, and before you know it, you just sit back and go, wow, it's done.
Yeah.
And the hooks are just, it's got to be something. And I think that's where maybe the creativity falls and the imagination comes in. You just pull things out. You go, this would work. This would work for this character. This is where the story has to go. And sometimes the heart, it makes it interesting for you as the writer too.
Yeah.
The new story I'm working on today, I spent the weekend not actually typing, but just writing out, this is where it's got to go. And at the end of the weekend, I go, I've got the entire book finished now. It's all in my head, right down to the end.
Wow.
I know that. And now I just have to let the characters walk across the pages and me just type it out.
And do the characters do things that surprise you, and even the plot surprises you? Maybe it takes an unexpected twist, or as you say, you sort of know where you're going to go.
That's a great question, because truly I have my where I'm going, but sometimes you're always you're walking your characters through maybe a scene or a setting, and then they just diverge, and then you as the writer or the creator, you've got to kind of go with that, because things just, because you've got so many numerous characters going and all these different personalities, and it is going to shift. So much as you map it out, you're kind of mapping out generally where you want it to go. How are you going to end up there? Sometimes it's not a straight road. It's usually not a straight road. It's usually going to wind through, like hiking. You see the mountain you want to go to. It'd be easy if you could just go straight, right? It'd be a whole lot easier. But yeah, it's always going to, it surprises me sometimes. It surprises me. And that's a really good thing. That's where the characters start breathing life into the pages themselves. When we talked about, then you're just kind of the medium for them. But I always have a concept of how it's, when that concept hits, that I know my ending. That's the good part. But I'm going to share something with you though. A penny for your thoughts. What I've always often end with this one, I'll come up with a title and I'll always put the title of the book somewhere in a sentence.
Oh.
And I think in this one, I think it's actually on the final page. Sometimes I will build the book. I might come up with a title that I like and go, I'm going to have to write a book around that because I just like it. And can I do it? And I don't know. I've done it 18 times so far, but yes, is the giveaway. The final sentence in the book is a penny for your thoughts.
Well,
so somewhere hidden always in my books is the title. This one happened to be the last in the book.
Is it on the last page because you forgot to shoehorn it in until the very end?
Yeah, I screwed it up and had to write it in at the end.
When the characters are writing the story themselves, do they always make the right decision, or do you write something that one of the characters does or says or whatever, and it turns out to take the book in a path that you didn't want and you have to reverse a bit?
You know what? No, I will. One thing I'm sure any writer would tell you, there's nothing worse than going, oh my Lord, I'm throwing away 50 pages and 2 weeks of work because I did. No, that I'm kind of cognizant of. They can only go so. I don't like doing that. If you have to do it, you have. If you like your story and you like your ideas, I don't like to throw away a lot of words because it is. I call it work. It's not really like work. It's more passion work. So that's good. But I don't like to go backwards. Do they deviate sometimes? Yeah, because sometimes that's great because it means you have to maybe introduce something else you hadn't thought of because, it just kind of the energy spins off into something else and that's good. But you got to manage it a little bit so you don't so you can finish your, I mean, that's always the goal, right? And that's the hard part. And I'm sure anybody would say that. I'm sure there's lots of people that start books and kind of get lost along the way, and maybe they never finish. And that's never really been an issue for me. It really hasn't been. I do try and stay a little bit. I do reel them in a little bit. That would be true.
Yeah. And it's often the same for readers as well, where they'll start a book and never get round to finishing it. But by the sounds of it, that's definitely not the case with A Penny for Your Thoughts.
No, you know what, truly, I was very happy with how this started. And I think I was able to keep a lot of the same action that very first, that little snippet that you read, I think that is actually from page 1.
Oh.
I think that is pretty much, yeah. I think that's right in the first paragraph, or I think actually it starts the second paragraph. And I think I tried to keep that momentum going throughout the book. And I think I did. And I think, some of the feedback that I've received is I think I accomplished it. You're not going to please everybody. Everybody's got different tastes. Just do the best you can and hope I always look at it. If you get enough people that just enjoy it, good for you. You're not, good for you. That's the reward, right? If you made someone have a great weekend because they said, hey, I read this great book over the weekend and it was awesome, good for me.
Now, you mentioned that you've got a couple of books that you're planning on writing, not a sequel for this planned yet. What can you tell us about the books you've got planned?
Right now, I'm in edit with, it's called Turn Back the Day. That's finished. That's more, it's not quite a suspense thriller. It's more of a story of love and redemption. There's going to be a little suspense in it because I think I just like to add that. That's just me.
Yeah. But
it's more of a story of love and redemption and good things can happen. That's in edit, and I'm working on the sequel to that right now. That's called October Moon. So that's in the works. Another one that I finished already that I just don't know how I want to put it out yet is called Days After You. That's more of I guess a love story. I always like to have the protagonist seeking some kind of redemption and fulfillment. I think maybe that's what everyone tries to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But then I just have, for a while I was just writing. I've got 16 other novels just sitting on a shelf that I haven't done anything with. So I kind of sometimes pull one down and look it over and go, do I want to put a lot more time in this? Because it's a long process. And for me, especially with this one, I go, after I wrote it, then it was 6 months of editing it. And I go, it's a lot of work. The writing, coming up with a story seems to be the easiest part.
Yeah.
And then the rest is, everybody else that does everything else, from editors to the people that help you with your jacket designs. And like you, everybody plays a little piece in this story, right? Everybody does, not just me.
For sure. Well, where can we find this book, A Penny for Your Thoughts?
You can find this book. It's available now on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble's website, and it's available on Google. And right now it's available in hardback and hardcover and a softcover. And I think they did a really good job putting it together. I think they did. I think it's a nice looking package, and I'm kind of, I'm proud of it. Like I said, it's never just you. It's all the people that help you put it together in the end to put together the project. And I think everybody that contributed did a really good job, and I really appreciate everything they did to put the life into this that makes it something that people can buy.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thank you so much, Toby, and you have a great day.